What makes Ukraine so important to the world? Why has this land become the center of one of the biggest conflicts of our time? Is it just about borders, or is there something deeper, something historical, cultural, even spiritual? Can a nation born from centuries of struggle truly break free from the shadows of empire? Why did Russia invade? And why did Ukraine refuse to surrender? And most importantly, what future awaits Ukraine? A future in ruins, or rebirth? To answer these questions, watch this video till the very end. So welcome to my YouTube channel Rise and Fall of Nations. And let's start the video. Ukraine, a nation of over 40 million people, sits at the crossroads of Europe and Russia, a position that has defined its culture, its politics, and its peril. Its capital, Kyiv, lies in the north-central region, while the eastern territories stretch toward Russia with strong industrial roots and historic ties to the Soviet Union. To the west, cities like Lviv lean toward Europe, both geographically and ideologically. Ukraine's location is more than a matter of maps, it is the stage upon which centuries of struggle have played out. The story of Ukraine is one of resilience under foreign rule. For centuries it was divided among powerful neighbors, Poland, the Austro-Hungarian Empire and Russia. But it was the 20th century that carved the deepest wounds. Under Soviet rule, Ukraine endured forced collectivization, purges, and the Holodomor, a devastating famine engineered by Stalin's regime. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Ukraine declared its independence. But true independence proved elusive. Oligarchs thrived, corruption became entrenched, and a new kind of conflict emerged, one between East and West. Some Ukrainians longed for closer ties with Europe and NATO, others feared losing their deep historical and cultural ties with Russia. This inner division would eventually spill onto the world stage. The turning point came in 2014 when President Yanukovych, seen as a Kremlin ally, rejected a trade agreement with the European Union in favor of closer ties with Russia. Protesters flooded the streets of Kyiv in what became the Maidan movement. After months of unrest, Yanukovych fled, and a new pro-Western government emerged. Russia, under Vladimir Putin, saw this as a threat. Within weeks it annexed Crimea and fueled separatist uprisings in eastern Ukraine. The conflict in Donbass began, and with it years of warfare, death and displacement. In 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion, aiming to subjugate Ukraine swiftly. But Ukraine fought back, not only with weapons, but with spirit. Civilians joined the resistance. President Volodymyr Zelensky became a global icon of defiance. Ukraine turned what was meant to be a blitzkrieg into a long, grinding war of attrition. The cost has been immense. Thousands of civilians have died. Cities have been reduced to rubble. Over 8 million Ukrainians have become refugees scattered across Europe and beyond. But Ukraine has not stood alone. NATO countries, though not entering the war directly, have supplied billions in military aid. The European Union opened its borders, offered humanitarian assistance, and granted Ukraine candidate status for EU membership, a historic shift toward Western integration. Western unity has been strong, but not without cracks. Sanctions on Russia have hurt global economies. Energy crises have tested European resolve, and yet Ukraine's struggle has become a symbol, not just of national survival but of democratic resistance against authoritarian aggression. Today, the war grinds on. Front lines shift slowly. New technologies from drones to long-range missiles shape the conflict. Cities like Bakhmut, once obscure, now echo with the sounds of endless artillery. Ukraine has launched counteroffensives, reclaiming territory, but Russia digs in deeper. Yet this is not just a war of soldiers. It's a war of values, ideologies, and narratives. Russia claims to protect its interests and cultural ties. Ukraine fights to define itself, not by what it was, but by what it wants to be, sovereign, free, and Western. What comes next for Ukraine is one of the most pressing questions of our time. There is no clear end in sight, no peace treaty signed, no handshake on the horizon. But behind the battlefield, diplomacy brews, and the future may depend as much on global politics as on the war itself. The United States remains a crucial player. With a presidential election looming, former President Donald Trump has re-emerged with controversial views on the war. His emphasis on cutting aid and pressuring Ukraine to negotiate could drastically alter U.S. support. A shift in leadership could empower Putin or force Ukraine into concessions it's not ready to make. Meanwhile, NATO stands as both shield and shadow. While Ukraine is not yet a member, it receives constant support, weapons, training, intelligence. The alliance walks a delicate line, supporting Ukraine without sparking a direct war with Russia. But discussions about future NATO membership are no longer fantasy. They're strategic, and Ukraine's sacrifices are rewriting NATO's role in the world. The European Union also holds the keys to Ukraine's future. Economic recovery, post-war reconstruction, and the promise of integration into the EU could bind Ukraine to Europe for good. Already, EU members have begun drafting a Marshall Plan-like recovery strategy for Ukraine, a vision of roads rebuilt, schools reopened, and a nation reborn from the ashes. But the road ahead is steep. War fatigue is real, in Ukraine and abroad. Rebuilding trust, infrastructure, and unity will take more than money. It will take time, it will take leadership, and it will take the unwavering will of a people who have fought for every inch of their freedom. One thing is certain, the future of Ukraine is no longer just about Ukraine. It is about the kind of world we want to live in. A world where might does not make right, and where even a nation surrounded by giants can choose its own destiny.